All right, so we're going to segue to our next J vlogger. His name is JPBM.
JPBM.
And, you know, we had Chase the Traveler. Now we got JPBM, the best JP content out there by far. All right, that's what the channel says. And JPBM has been in, I think he's in Osaka. And Chase was in Tokyo.
I thought Chase was in Osaka, no?
He's been in different places.
Oh,
maybe
okay.
he's in Osaka too. I know JPBM is in Osaka as well. So maybe they're both there. And JPBM is the Japan crime channel, dude. Talks about crime, Yakuza, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But what I noticed the most, and I guess the videos that I probably enjoyed watching the most, are his personal opinions / rants about life in Japan as an American, as a Westerner. And JPBM is that guy's going through it. I think he's been there like around 10 years.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Right? And which is a long time. He's an English teacher as well. He makes no qualms about complaining and telling you all the hardships of being an English teacher, of being a Westerner, and all the things that come with it.
As it is.
It just, and again, I would say the JPBM twist is like it's gonna come with the negative. He's gonna bring that negative sauce every single time. Yeah. I personally, I feel for him. I understand. A lot of the things that he's venting about, you know, I've lived the same things.
100%.
I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, his style is different from Chase's.
Right.
Chase has been through all the things too. He's been through the ringer, but he's been there. I mean, he's still there after 30 years. So it means he's made it work. He's figured it out. He's come to peace with whatever his experience as a Westerner is in Japan, which it's not, you know, it's not all roses and rainbows.
Nope.
But JPBM, I feel like he's that 10-year point. I think we didn't mention this at all, but like, I would say 99% of Westerners who live in Japan. So if you're thinking about living in Japan, you know, this is important info. I would say 99% of people, Westerners in Japan, end up leaving. It doesn't matter how long they live. It could be 5 years. If they didn't leave
at that 1 year mark or 2 years mark. Because that's what they say, because the JAT program or whatever, you know, visa cuts there.
Right. Well, I mean, if they leave then,
maybe it's different now, but
the point I'm making is no matter how long you're there, 99% of them leave. Even after 20 years, even after 30, they leave. Even if they have nothing waiting for them back home, they still leave. It's something I've seen it. I've heard it. I've heard Japanese people who had a friend who had been there for 20 years and then he leaves and they're just like, man, he left eventually. He couldn't take it. And it's, I mean, I understand it. I was there 4 years. I had a great experience there. I left a lot of friends there that I can still contact them, fortunately, through social media and everything.
Right.
But after 4 years, you know, personally, I was like, yeah, that's about it for me. You know, there's a lot of reasons why. And I guess maybe we'll talk about it in another video, but we're talking about JPBM.
Exactly.
And he's still there fighting the good fight, dude. He's 10 years in. The dude is angry as hell.
Yeah.
He's angry as hell. And he fights.
Real talk, that was me and that was you. At the end of our stay in Japan. Yeah. So, again, just like the English teachers, man. Like, they hated everything about Japan. And, it was super, super negative. So I was like, man, this music thing better work out. And same thing, man, like, fast forward 5 years, I was doing exactly what they were doing. For the last year and a half, 2 years. Same thing. Right. So JPBM style.
Yeah.
Even the blanket instead of a curtain.
Oh, right.
That's
I had that too. I had a towel, dude. Yeah, nah, dude. Yeah, nah. He talks about, you know, and again, economically, you know, things are different now in Japan as well.
Right.
And he was just talking, this is something Chase also covered, but just, foreigners living there and your ability to make money and your job opportunities are very different.
Right. And
so, JPBM does talk about like, man, like, just doing the math and being like, what can I afford? And just like, what basically your options while living there, what things you can afford to do, going out, doing all these things. Like he's definitely giving a lot of important information for anybody wanting to pursue a life in Japan. It's just funny because I feel his pain.
The comments are ruthless.
The comments are, like he fights with the people in the comments.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we got great people commenting. Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. Like, and I like that, people in the comments are like exchanging information. You guys are like sharing your experiences.
Now start fighting
that's
too.
Great.
JPBM style, start fighting too, y'all.
Yeah, no. We want to keep it positive, but JPBM, they're fighting against him, dude. They're not fighting amongst themselves. They're just, they're fighting against him, and like. But again, I think there's like, he brings that energy to the videos. He brings that energy to the videos. Right. Some of the videos, he's with his homie. Yeah, the black dude, and they're like drinking,
constantly screaming
and screaming. It's like, yeah. Like I get it. Like in a way, they're kind of inviting that type of thing. But again, I appreciate his. I definitely appreciate his point of view. I know what he's going through. Yeah. His main thing is I'll read off like some of the videos that I thought, okay, like these are JPBM classics. Like one of them is. Japan pretends that Gaijin can't speak Japanese.
Right.
I thought that was hilarious. Like it's, I feel like if JPBM spoke a little bit more Japanese, I don't know how much he speaks, but from what I see, I feel like some of the experiences he's having is because he's either not able to express himself to the level that would get him better communication with Japanese people.
Right.
But, part of that might also be, like his general twinkie and like there's just his modus operandi, like just the way he is might also kind of like
I know
cause these kinds of scenarios.
Could be that too.
He's like one of his videos, which there's many like this. He probably has multiple ones with the same title. Why I don't like Gaijin YouTubers. He talks about this extensively. He's got a hit list of Gaijin YouTubers.
What was his name? Abroad in Japan, dude, right?
Abroad in Japan. For some reason, he despises that guy. Yeah, he hates him. I mean, granted, like I told you before, I'm not like the biggest fan of watching any of these videos. I don't want people telling me, oh, you can go to this place, that place. I don't care. I don't care. And like, if they're not able to really understand what's going on with the people in Japan, then their experience is not that important to me either, because it's not valid. Obviously, everybody's experience is going to be valid to someone, but to me,
you're right.
Listening to them is just kind of a little bit of a waste of time. Right. I know it sounds horrible, but it is. JPBM, on the other hand, is just pretty hilarious, and he is saying some real things. Yeah, I think.
Not because lying.
He's not lying at all. I think because he's definitely speaking negatively about a lot of things in Japan, and there's a lot of complaining going on. Right. I think that kind of gets him a certain energy. Another video is, why do people love abroad in Japan? As you just said it, dude. He hates him. He hates that guy. Right. And I understand. Okay, here's his thing. He says, the best JP content out there by far. He really believes in giving true, real life personal experiences.
Raw too.
And, but really like bringing something to the table when it comes to these videos and like really sharing personal experiences in Japan. Farther than, oh, look what I ate. Or look what I bought.
Right.
Or look where I went. He absolutely hates that. I don't hate it because it has its place, and people, judging by the popularity of videos on YouTube, a lot of people they want to see that
those
stuff.
Are the mainstreams.
Right. People want to see. Whoa, look what he ate. Look what he bought. Look what he got.
Onigiri, damn.
Right. I lived there already. I've seen all that. I really don't care about that. Most of the tourist stuff, I just really don't care about. He, after living there 10 years, obviously doesn't care about that. But also, he's very annoyed that the audience gravitates towards that content. That's what makes him the angriest. But it's like, JPBM, like that. People want what they want, man. Like, I mean, you have your own brand, which is like, it is what it is. And like people who enjoy that, they're going to, they're going to be faithful to your channel. But yeah, people like, they want to see that type of stuff. I get it. I understand. But like, he's really angry about it. He's made videos about the negative comments he gets from his viewers.
Right.
Yeah. He's got some videos about that. And he's just like, he just wants to fight. He
also talks about Japanese people stealing umbrellas too. So I was like,
yeah, he did. Yeah, it's because it's real.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah. And then let's see what else. And he talks about extreme crime in Japan, right? Which I guess these topics that I'm just naming off, like we'll eventually talk about them as well.
Right.
Like the crime is extreme in Japan. Like there's he's saying, and his channel is the crime channel, which I wasn't aware of that, but like that's how he brands it. And he talks about like crimes that happen, and they're always super extreme. He also says that how crime is really low in Japan. And I would say, I've mentioned this before, but Tokyo's the safest city I've ever lived in by far.
Right.
But there is a thing about like underreporting crime in Japan.
Yeah.
Which is done.
100%.
And actually, you know what? I think that's probably done pretty much everywhere.
But especially more in Japan because they care about the image of the country.
Right.
And all that stuff. Like way too much.
Yeah. And he talks about, I just remember when I first went to Japan, one of the things I did was have the news on all the time because I wanted to like hear as much Japanese as possible, learn as many words. I just wanted it in the background all the time so I could absorb.
Yeah.
And quickly I just decided not to. Like the first 3 months, it was a lot of crimes and what I noticed was it was family members, unaliving other family members. And it was like, a son, taking out his mom, or like a mother like drowning her children in the bathtub, like just things that are really horrible and that, just very, very extreme. Or heads being found, severed heads, that, and also foreigners doing messed up stuff. Yeah. Like, either like GIs, being accused of, I find that YouTube has words that they don't want being said. So GIs being accused of grape, the fruit. Grape. But you know what we're talking about? Yeah. Or fights,
fights, of course, man.
Just, army people like beating the hell out of people at bars or whatever. Yeah. And then there's that hilarious one, that guy, I think he was a French guy, but there's that naked guy that swam the moat of the Imperial Palace and then climbed, and he was naked and all the police officers were trying to hold him back.
Like, with the thing.
With the thing, that was comedy to me. The guy was like, and it was winter, and the guy was like a pale white dude with a shaved head, kind of fat, and like but it was cold, so he was all red, and he just swam in like cold water to get there. Right?
Was he drunk?
So a guy super drunk or high on some substance. He swam. He got there. He climbed up. That guy went for it. Like that guy was on
some Gaijin ninja right there.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, maybe he was on some. Who knows what he was on? Because that's
the Imperial.
Now I'm thinking he probably was not drunk because who does all that being drunk? Well, no, I'm lying. We've been mad crazy. Like,
but again, it's Japan, so they had the, what do you call those things? The bull.
So usually you do that with animals, like dogs or whatever. Yeah, it's like it's
they
a pole
do it with a criminal. With the
it's a pole with like two like a claw.
Yeah.
And you kind of grab the person.
Like 3 or 4 dudes. It's just like Imagine if that was here in the States.
Nah, they just take them out.
Naked, drunk, or high, running towards the White House. No, it's an open fire at that point, man. Open fire at that point.
Deceased.
You're pulp.
GTA wasted, dude.
Wasted. Like just double wasted.
Yeah.
No respawn. But yeah, man.
So yeah, no. So JPBM talks about that type of stuff. Yeah, again, that one was funny. The rest of the stuff wasn't funny. I stopped watching the news.
Like you always mention, Japan's one of the safest countries we've been to. Mm-hmm. But crime in Japan's pretty extreme too. It's either no crime or some Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, real.
Everything in between kind of gets underreported. Mm-hmm. That's why it looks even more extreme ish.
Right.
So
yeah.
But like those like super Jeffrey Dahmer type jikens in Japan, it's really sick. It's really, really sick.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to give a reason for it, I would say social pressure is really high in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
That too. A lot is expected of you as a Japanese person. So, part of the reason I left is because I wanted to operate like a Japanese person. I didn't want special treatment of any kind, which I know I probably got. I'm not even going to say probably. I know in certain instances I did get special treatment. And but I did my best to do things like everyone else. So like the whole keigo and all this stuff, and I wrestled to like make sure I was as correct as possible, and like and behaving, knowing like, oh, okay, sit on this side, make sure everybody has everybody older than you has the drink poured and their glasses are full, and like and again, Japanese people appreciated that about me. Also, they were like, hey man, like you really
he knows,
and they would just, they'd always say, they say that, Felipe, Nihonjin da yo, hontoni. Felipe wa hato wa Nihonjin. You're a Japanese person. I'm like, no, I'm not, but I'm doing what I can, I mean, it goes a long way when people realize, like, you're trying not to, you're not trying to pass the buck because you're not from there,
Right.
So, but at the same time, if you are in Japan as a Westerner and you function within Japanese society with Japanese people doing everything the way they do it, you will be just as stressed as they are.
Oh, 100%.
It's just simple. It's just a simple.
More. Yeah.
Well, you have other types of stress, but like you will have the same social stress that they have.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be worrying about the same thing. Did I say this? Should I not have said that? Those things. That's part of the political correctness that Chase. The traveler was talking about
cultural correctness, actually.
Right. Both. And what he meant by that, though, what he meant by political correctness is just your speech and what you say. And he said something that I will say, like, I didn't have the same experience as him, but I do agree. He is right. He said, don't speak negatively of anything Japanese to Japanese people.
Right.
Don't, if you have some kind of like, disagreement with how something's done over there, don't tell them. He said, especially if it's someone you work for.
Exactly.
Don't do that. Now, I made that mistake.
We did.
All the time.
We did.
But the thing is, it never, I guess, because when I was at Kodansha with my editors, dude, I would ask them, I would complain, I guess. I would say, like, why are things this way? Like, I don't understand. I wouldn't go JPBM on them and just be like super negative and rant. And no, I didn't do that. But like, I had occasions where, like, okay, we'll bring this up later. But like, I remember once I went grocery shopping and then like I was on the street and a Japanese guy looked at me and it was like, excuse me. And I look at him, I'm like, もう日本語喋れるよ。もう普通に日本語大丈夫ですよ。I speak Japanese. And then he's like, and then he came up to me and I was like, oh, what's this guy want to talk about? And he's like, 日本人の女とセックスしないでください. He's like, don't have sex with our women, with our Japanese women. And I was like, what? Like, that's how you're going to start the conversation, homie? Like, what?
You say too late?
You know, but, you know, and then, like, you know, he just walked off. And then, you know, I finished my grocery shopping and then proceeded to go into my apartment and stew over that for like 2 weeks while I'm drawing my comic. Not talking to anybody, just getting my stuff done. By the time I went to the publisher, you know, I told them that. I'm like, yo, what is this about? And it's like, that has nothing to do with them. Who knows why this guy, what his deal was. Who knows, maybe he saw someone like me, you know, and
his girlfriend
got with someone he liked. You know, who knows, dude, who knows? You know, and it's like, I always made like, you know, a big effort not to let things like that get me down or whatever. And I always like kind of like thought, okay, you know, whatever, things happen. But I would, you know, who would I talk to? Like, I'd talk to my editors. Those were the people I'd talk to. So I would bring things up like this. And then, you know, half of it, you know, like I had other friends that I would tell, and, you know, they'd say like, no, man, that guy was an asshole and he was crazy. Like, we're not like that. And I'm like, no, I don't think you're like that. Like, fortunately, by the time I went to Japan, I had a bunch of Japanese friends. I could tell what's weird and what's not weird.
Right.
Which again, like some of these YouTubers, maybe JPBM, maybe the next one we're going to talk about, there's, you know, they've had to figure that out for themselves without the support of like Japanese homies being like, yo, this is real. This is nonsense, you know? So I mean, it was easier for me to brush it off, you know, but again, I remember telling you about stuff that happened to me and you'd be like, oh yeah, I know. You like, you'll get used to it. And me being like, dude, I don't know if I'm gonna get used to any of this, but listening to JPBM, he'll bring up stuff like that. You know, people like messing with him because he's a gaijin. I gotta say, like we've mentioned before, every Westerner is gonna have a different experience depending on their physical appearance, what country they're from, their
jobs,
behavior, their job, exactly. But you know, JPBM talks about being picked on. Like, you know, they'll just mess with him, you know, with him, like kind of tease him. I never had that in Japan. But also, I don't know, maybe they were like, well, you know, don't mess with that guy. Who knows? Like, maybe he's crazy. Where maybe JPBM doesn't give the impression of, you know, being, you know, he said like, you know, they knocked over his bike. He said he was at a bar drinking and then he went back and he said the only bike that was knocked over was his. And they knew it was his and they knocked it over. That type of stuff. Who knows?
Yeah,
you know.
That's because, I mean, Japan, again, safest country ever. But there are dudes who are just asshole to gaijins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those people exist.
Oh, for sure.
They will just, you can tell them by like right away. Just because, and the thing is, I look Japanese. If I shut up, nobody could tell. But let's say like, Daku wa gaijin da yo, whatever, right? He's from the States. Then, you know, you can tell like their face is just like, gaijin ga nande nihon. Oh man, shut the up. Not doing anything for him. Like, nani mo sewa ni natte ne yo. But then this dude is like, I'm like, yo, like, I didn't need your permission to be here.
Omae shiranai yo.
Yeah. And there are dudes like that, 100%. Right. But like talking about those dudes, the Uyoku dudes, like the super ultra right wing dudes.
Oh yeah,
on those black cars,
on those black vans, they stand on top with the loudspeaker in Shibuya.
They hate gaijins, and you know who also they hate?
Who's that?
Hip hop dudes. 100%.
Oh,
they hate
like
him.
Japanese hip hop guys.
Japanese hip hop.
Well,
dudes.
hey, they're being too American, dude. Yeah, the right wing Japan party doesn't like that.
Yeah, those guys are like, yo, you guys sold your souls.
Right. Yo, I remember once I was in Shibuya and I was with a friend. She was a girl, and we're standing there about to cross the you know, the typical crosswalk you always see in videos about Japan. We're like
the Shibuya crossing.
Yeah, and like Shibuya, that station, 12 million people go through that station daily. So there's a lot of people, you know. And we're standing there waiting to cross, and there's the black right-wing party van with the guy standing on the roof with the
bullhorn.
loudspeaker. Yeah. And so he looks at me and with my friend, and then he says, "Those who lay with Gaijin will go to hell." And like, you know, those who you know, are intimate with Gaijin, those who spend time with Gaijin, those who support Gaijin will go to hell and burn eternally. And like, you know, I don't know if he thought I didn't understand what he was saying, but you know, I'm looking at it, I'm just laughing.
Yeah,
and like waving. I'm like, dude, yeah.
You really don't want to start with them.
I mean, dude, what was I gonna start?
Yeah, I mean, just by looking at them or staring at them, because I've seen some hip hop dudes like "Usin Lao San." Then these dudes, like 10 dudes, come out of their car, the car, and just like, "What?" And it becomes like one of those like Yakuza movies.
Well, but that's because it's a Japanese person saying it.
Yeah,
I think there's also a different there. Like they, you know.
Funny thing about Japanese words, officially, Japan does not have the R trill like Spanish one.
Right.
Unless they get mad or you know they're fighting, then it goes "Umara nanandaya." Yeah. I always thought that was yo. I always thought that was funny though, even though they're all serious, like mad. Oh, Spanish. But I always thought that was funny.
Well, you know, I always used to tell, like pronunciation is really close between Japanese and Spanish because the vowel sounds are the same. I-E-O-U, I-U-E-O. The order is different for the vowels, but the sound is the same. So Japanese people who can roll the R like Yakuza, then they can pronounce Spanish perfectly. I used to write when I worked at the karaoke, I would write out sentences in katakana and just hand it to my Japanese coworkers and they would just read it and it was just Spanish. Yeah. And they were like, "Whoa." I'm like, yeah, it's the same sound.
Korean has more vowels and consonants, but it's basically CV structure. So consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. That's why Japanese people are having a hard time speaking English, because sometimes we have a word starts with a vowel, right? And we have consonant clusters, like two consonants together. So Japanese people, they say tsu. It's kind of like that, but not really. Tsu is just tsu in Japanese. Right. If you write it in an alphabet, it's TS, but in Japanese it's just one word, tsu, right? So,
TSU.
TSU.
Yeah.
Tsu. Tsu. It's just tsu. But yeah, man.
Yeah, so JPBM. JPBM, shout out, yo! Like, keep fighting the good fight, dude. Yo, again, don't get angry, man.
I saw a comment saying like, this kind of content never gets pushed by YouTube because it's too real. Right, it's not the mainstream Japan YouTube wants to show something like that. So I'm like,
but it's true though. I think I would say, check out JPBM. If you want to hear, you know, if you're tired of hearing all the, oh look, I ate this sushi that's like this, or I went to the robot cafe.
Balance it out pretty good.
Oh, I saw the Gundam. Like, I really don't care about any of that stuff. But again, those are the things that are most different. I mean, and it's like the surface of Japan. It's like very shiny, and you know. But if you want like some gutter stories, if you want to see people passed out on the street after drinking, which is normal in Japan, you can't get away from that. If you go out on weekends, you will see businessmen laid out, KO'd from all the drinking.
Everywhere.
Yeah. But yeah, JPBM will bring you the gutter Japanese stories.
That and some other IG channels are saved. For now, JPBM.
JPBM, all right, yo.
Shout out, man.
JPBM, keep fighting the good Gaijin fight in Japan, and shout outs to Osaka too.
And let us know what happened between you and abroad in Japan.
Oh yeah. When's the fight, man? I want ringside. I want ringside seats, dude. I don't know. Closing remarks for JPBM. I would say, at least for me personally, I think my experience was different, even though I lived in Osaka also for about half a year. But I was able to speak, and I had friends that lived there, and then, you know, I went out, and I've never not been a talkative person, so like I would go and meet people at the bar and just ask them stuff and whatever. So my experience in Osaka was a little bit different, but I definitely understand the things he's talking about.
Oh yeah, man, watching his videos. This one has like 2,000 videos up, man. Some of his videos, like 0 views. He has so many videos up.
Well, he's prolific, man. He gets out there.
Yeah. Some of his videos, like, they're doing good in numbers, but some of his videos, like, way down there with like 2 views, 0 views. So,
right.
I don't think I can watch all of them. It's 2,000. There's 2,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of videos.
Damn, son.
A lot of video. You can't say he's a lazy person. Definitely.
Give you that.